Have you ever been treated like you don't matter by your own family? Well, that's exactly what happened to me at my brother's big ceremony. But what my family didn't know was that I had a secret that would change everything. Hi everyone, if you love revenge stories that teach bullies a lesson, please hit that like button and drop a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing revenge stories, like this one. My name is Sophia Hayes, and for 32 years, I've been the forgotten daughter in my family. While my brother got all the praise and attention, I quietly served my country in ways no one could imagine. Little did they know their boring sister was about to shock them all. Growing up in the Hayes family was like living in my brother's shadow. My parents, Robert and Linda Hayes, always made it clear that my younger brother Danny was their golden child. When Danny joined the local police force, they threw him a party and invited the whole neighborhood. They bragged to everyone about their hero son, who protected the community. But when I quietly enlisted in the Navy right after high school, all I got was a pat on the shoulder and a "that's nice, dear" from my mother. They never asked about my work or seemed interested in what I did. Whenever family friends asked about me, my parents would simply say, "Oh, Sophia has some desk job in the military. Nothing too exciting." For years, I kept my mouth shut about my real job. I couldn't tell them about the dangerous missions I went on or the lives I saved. My work was classified, and I took that responsibility seriously. So I let them think I was just pushing papers somewhere while Danny got all the glory for his work as a police officer. The breaking point came when Danny got promoted to sergeant. My parents decided to throw him a huge celebration at the community center in Maplewood Heights. They invited everyone, relatives, neighbors, Danny's coworkers, and even people from our old school. The whole town was talking about the party for weeks. 3 days before the event, I drove to my parents' house to ask about the details. When I walked into the kitchen, I found my mother and Aunt going through a long guest list. "Mom, what time should I be there on Saturday?" I asked, reaching for a glass of water. My mother looked up with a confused expression. "Beware." "Danny's promotion party. The one you've been planning for months." My Aunt Linda shifted uncomfortably in her chair. My mother's face went red, and she stammered, "Oh, honey, well, you see, the venue has limited space, and we had to make some tough choices about the guest list." I felt my heart sink into my stomach. "Are you saying I'm not invited to my own brother's celebration?" "It's not that you're not invited," my mother said quickly. "It's just that we figured you'd be busy with your work stuff. And honestly, this is really more for Danny's police friends and the people who understand what he does." That night, I sat in my small apartment staring at my Navy uniform hanging in the closet, the same uniform that had seen me through countless missions that I could never talk about. The same uniform that represented 15 years of service to my country. But to my family, I was just Sophia with a desk job who didn't deserve a seat at her brother's celebration. I made a decision that night. I was going to that party, whether they wanted me there or not. And I was going to wear my dress uniform with all my medals. It was time my family learned the truth about what their boring daughter really did for a living. Little did I know that this decision would lead to the most shocking moment of my entire life. Saturday arrived, and I stood in front of my mirror adjusting my Navy dress uniform. The dark blue fabric was crisp and perfect, and my chest was covered with ribbons and medals that told the story of my service. Most people wouldn't understand what they meant, but each one represented a mission, a life saved, or a moment when I put my country before myself. I drove to the community center in Maplewood Heights with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The parking lot was packed with cars, and I could hear music and laughter coming from inside. For a moment, I almost turned around and went home. But then I remembered all the times my family had dismissed me, and I found my courage. When I walked through the front doors, the room went silent. About 200 people were there, all dressed in their best clothes, holding drinks and chatting. My parents were near the front of the room with Danny, who was wearing his police uniform and grinning from ear to ear. My mother's face went white when she saw me. She quickly walked over, her high heels clicking on the floor. "Sophia, what are you doing here? I thought we discussed this." "You discussed it, Mom. I just listened," I said calmly. "I'm here to celebrate my brother like any good sister would." My father joined us, looking embarrassed. "Honey, you're making a scene. People are staring." "Let them stare," I replied. "I have every right to be here." Danny walked over with a confused look on his face. "Sophia, what's with all the fancy military stuff? Are you trying to show off or something?" Some of his police friends started laughing. One of them, a guy named Officer Peterson, said loudly, "Hey, Danny, I didn't know your sister was into costume parties." The whole room erupted in laughter. My cheeks burned with embarrassment, but I held my head high. My mother grabbed my arm and whispered harshly, "Please don't ruin this for Danny. This is his special day." I found an empty table in the back corner and sat down by myself. For the next hour, I watched as person after person went up to the microphone to talk about how wonderful Danny was. His police chief talked about his dedication. His partner told funny stories about their time on patrol. Our uncle gave a speech about how proud the family was of their hero. Not once did anyone mention me or acknowledge that I was even there. I sat alone at my table, watching my own family celebrate like I didn't exist. The worst part was listening to my parents tell people, "Oh, that's just our daughter Sophia. She has some boring desk job in the military. Nothing important like Danny's work." I was about to leave when something unexpected happened. A tall man in a Navy uniform walked through the front doors. He had silver hair and more ribbons on his chest than I'd ever seen on one person. The entire room turned to look at him as he scanned the crowd. My heart stopped beating. I recognized him immediately, but I couldn't believe he was here. Commander James Mitchell was one of the most respected officers in the entire Navy. He had been my commanding officer on several classified missions, and he knew things about my service that even I wasn't allowed to talk about. Commander Mitchell's eyes found mine across the room, and he started walking directly toward me. Every step he took made my heart pound harder. This was not supposed to happen. No one from my military life was supposed to be here. As he got closer, I could see the serious expression on his face. He walked past all the tables full of people, past my parents who were staring in confusion, and past Danny who had stopped talking mid-sentence. When Commander Mitchell reached my table, he did something that made the entire room gasp in shock. He stood at attention and gave me the most crisp, perfect military salute I had ever seen. "Good evening, Admiral Hayes," he said in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. The silence in the room was deafening. Everyone stared at Commander Mitchell and me like we were aliens from outer space. I could see my parents' mouths hanging open, and Danny looked like someone had just told him the earth was flat. "Commander Mitchell," I said quietly, standing up and returning his salute. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." "I was in the area for a meeting at the naval base," he replied, his voice still carrying across the silent room. When I heard there was a celebration for Admiral Hayes' family, I had to stop by and pay my respects. I heard someone gasp behind me. My mother's voice came out as barely a whisper. "Admiral? Did he just say Admiral?" Commander Mitchell turned to address the room, his military bearing commanding everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you don't mind the interruption. I wanted to personally thank the Hayes family for their daughter's incredible service to our country." My father stepped forward, looking completely lost. "I'm sorry, sir, but I think there's been some mistake. Our daughter, Sophia, just has a desk job in the Navy. She's not an admiral." Commander Mitchell's eyebrows raised in surprise. "A desk job? Sir, your daughter is one of the most decorated officers in the United States Navy. She's led rescue missions that saved hundreds of lives and completed operations that I can't even discuss in public." The room started buzzing with confused whispers. I felt my face getting red, but not from embarrassment this time. I was angry that my secret was being revealed, but also relieved that the truth was finally coming out. Danny pushed through the crowd, his police uniform suddenly looking very small compared to Commander Mitchell's impressive ribbons and medals. "Wait, wait, wait," he said, waving his hands. "This has to be a joke. Sophia's never done anything important. She's just my weird sister who never talks about her work." "Your sister," Commander Mitchell said firmly, "has received the Navy Cross, the Silver Star, and the Purple Heart. She's been wounded in action twice while saving the lives of her fellow service members. Just last year, she led a rescue operation that saved 47 sailors from a sinking ship in the middle of a storm." My Aunt Linda grabbed my mother's arm. "Linda, did you know about any of this?" My mother shook her head, looking like she was going to faint. "No, she never told us anything." "Because she couldn't," Commander Mitchell explained. "Most of Admiral Hayes' work has been classified. She's been protecting national security for the past 15 years, and she's done it without any recognition because that's what real heroes do." Officer Peterson, the same guy who had made fun of my uniform earlier, stepped forward with a confused look. "But why didn't she ever tell anyone? I mean, if I had done half that stuff, I'd be bragging about it every day." I finally found my voice. Because real service isn't about getting praise or having parties thrown for you. It's about doing what's right even when no one is watching. Even when your own family thinks you're nobody special. The room went quiet again. I could see people looking back and forth between me and Danny, finally understanding what had been happening all these years. My mother started crying. "Sophia, honey, why didn't you tell us? We had no idea." "You never asked," I said simply. "For 15 years, you never once asked me what I really did or if I was okay. You just assumed I wasn't worth your attention." Danny's face was getting red now. "This is supposed to be my party. My celebration. Why is everyone suddenly acting like Sophia is some kind of hero?" Commander Mitchell turned to Danny with a stern expression. "Young man, your sister has earned more respect in 1 year than most people earn in a lifetime. She's risked her life for strangers and asked for nothing in return. That's when my father did something that shocked everyone in the room. He walked over to me with tears in his eyes and tried to give me a hug. Sophia, I'm so sorry. We had no idea how wrong we've been. But I stepped back before he could touch me. You're not sorry about how you treated me, Dad. You're just embarrassed that everyone now knows the truth. Suddenly, Commander Mitchell's phone started ringing. He answered it quickly, and I could tell by his expression that something serious was happening. He hung up and turned to me with an urgent look. Admiral Hayes, I need you to come with me immediately. We have a situation that requires your expertise. Everyone in the room watched as I nodded and started walking toward the door with Commander Mitchell. But just as we were about to leave, Danny shouted something that made my blood boil. This is all fake. She's probably paying this guy to pretend she's important. There's no way my loser sister is really an admiral. Commander Mitchell stopped dead in his tracks. He turned around slowly, and I could see the anger building in his eyes. The entire room held its breath as he walked back toward Danny. What did you just say? Commander Mitchell's voice was deadly quiet. Danny, either too stupid or too angry to back down, repeated himself. I said this is all fake. My sister is a nobody. She's probably paying you to pretend she's some big-shot admiral. There's no way someone like her could be important. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. My parents looked horrified, but they didn't say anything to stop Danny. They just stood there like frozen statues. Commander Mitchell reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. You think this is fake? He said, his voice getting louder. Let me show you just how real your sister's service is. He dialed a number and put the phone on speaker. After 2 rings, a voice answered that made everyone in the room go silent. This is Admiral Rebecca Thompson, Chief of Naval Operations. Who am I speaking with? Commander Mitchell looked directly at Danny as he spoke. "Ma'am, this is Commander Mitchell. I'm here with Admiral Hayes, and we have a situation where someone is questioning her service record and calling it fake." There was a pause on the other end. Then Admiral Thompson's voice came through the speaker, clear and strong. "Admiral Hayes is one of the finest officers in the United States Navy. She's currently being considered for promotion to Vice Admiral. Anyone questioning her service is questioning the integrity of our entire military." Danny's face went white. My parents looked like they were going to be sick. The police officers who had been laughing earlier now looked embarrassed and ashamed. "Furthermore," Admiral Thompson continued, "Admiral Hayes is being awarded the Distinguished Service Medal next month for her recent mission in the Pacific. The ceremony will be at the Pentagon, and the President himself will be presenting the award." Commander Mitchell looked around the room. "Thank you, ma'am. I think that clears up any confusion." He hung up the phone and stared at Danny. "Young man, you just insulted one of the most decorated officers in the Navy. In front of 200 people. I suggest you think very carefully about your next words." Danny opened his mouth, but no words came out. He looked around the room desperately, seeking support from his family or friends. But everyone was staring at him with disgust. My mother finally found her voice. "Danny, apologize to your sister right now." I. Danny stammered. "I didn't know. I mean, how was I supposed to know?" "You were supposed to know because I'm your sister," I said, my voice steady and calm. "You were supposed to care enough to ask. You were supposed to treat me with respect, even if you thought I was nobody special." Officer Peterson stepped forward, looking ashamed. "Ma'am, I owe you an apology too. What I said earlier about your uniform was completely out of line." I nodded at him. "Thank you, Officer Peterson. I accept your apology." My father tried to approach me again. "Sophia, please let us make this right. We can have another party, a bigger one, to celebrate you." "I don't want a party, Dad. I never wanted a party. I just wanted my family to love me for who I am, not for what I do." Commander Mitchell checked his watch. "Admiral Hayes, we really do need to go. There's a situation developing that requires your immediate attention." As we started walking toward the door again, my mother called out, "Sophia, wait. When will we see you again?" I turned back to look at my family one last time. Danny was still standing there looking shocked and embarrassed. My parents were crying. The whole room was watching me like I was some kind of movie star. "I don't know, Mom. I need time to think about whether I want people in my life who only respect me when other people tell them they should." Commander Mitchell and I walked out of the community center together. As we got to his car, he looked at me with concern. "Admiral, are you okay? That was a difficult situation." "I'm fine, Commander. Thank you for standing up for me in there." He nodded and opened his car door. "The call I received wasn't fake, Admiral. We really do have a situation that needs your expertise. But before we go, I want you to know that what just happened in there says more about them than it does about you." As we drove away from the community center, I looked back at the building where my family was probably still trying to process what had just happened. But I wasn't thinking about them anymore. I was thinking about the mission ahead and the fact that somewhere out there, people were counting on me to do my job. What I didn't know was that this was just the beginning. The real shock was still to come. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my office at the naval base when my assistant knocked on my door. "Admiral Hayes, you have visitors." I looked up from my paperwork, surprised. "I don't have any meetings scheduled." "Ma'am, it's your parents. They say it's urgent." My heart sank. I hadn't spoken to my family since the night at the community center. They had called and texted dozens of times, but I wasn't ready to deal with them yet. Now they had driven all the way to the base to see me. "Send them in," I said with a sigh. My parents walked into my office looking nervous and out of place. My mother was carrying a newspaper, and my father had a manila folder in his hands. They both looked like they hadn't slept in days. Sophia, honey, we need to talk, my mother said, sitting down without being invited. What do you want, Mom? I asked, not looking up from my paperwork. My father cleared his throat. We've been learning things about you. Things we should have known a long time ago. He opened the manila folder and spread out several newspaper clippings on my desk. I glanced at them and felt my stomach drop. The headlines read, Local Navy officer saves 47 lives in Pacific rescue. Hero Admiral from Maplewood Heights receives Presidential Medal, and military daughter hidden hero for 15 years. The whole town is talking about you, my mother said, her voice shaking. People are calling us asking why we never told them our daughter was a war hero. I looked up at them for the first time. And what do you tell them? My father's face crumpled. We tell them the truth. That we were terrible parents who never bothered to learn about our own daughter's life. Mrs. Henderson from down the street came over yesterday, my mother added. She said she always wondered why you were so quiet and serious. She said she could tell you had seen things that most people couldn't handle. I leaned back in my chair. So now you're here because you're embarrassed. Because the neighbors know the truth. No, my mother said quickly. We're here because we realized we lost our daughter years ago and we want her back. My father nodded. We found out about your Purple Heart. We learned that you were wounded saving other soldiers. We read about the time you went into a burning building to rescue civilians. All these years, we thought Danny was the hero in the family, but it was you. It was always you. I felt tears starting to form in my eyes, but I pushed them back. Where's Danny? Why isn't he here apologizing too? My parents looked at each other uncomfortably. Danny's having a hard time with all this, my mother said softly. He's been drinking more since the party. He got suspended from work for showing up late. He's angry that everyone's talking about you instead of him. He said something terrible yesterday, my father added. He said he wished you had never come to his party. He said his life was better when everyone thought you were nobody special. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, I could see young sailors training, learning to serve their country with honor. And what did you say when he said that? I told him he was no longer welcome in our house, my father said firmly. I told him that I was ashamed to call him my son after the way he treated you. I turned around, surprised. You kicked Danny out? My mother was crying now. We realized that we raised him wrong. We made him think he was better than everyone else, including his own sister. We created a monster, and we're sorry. For the first time in weeks, I felt something crack inside my chest. These were the words I had been waiting to hear my whole life, but they felt empty now. Too little, too late. I appreciate you coming here, I said quietly, but I need more time to process all of this. My father stood up and walked over to me. Sophia, I know we can't undo 32 years of mistakes, but please don't give up on us completely. We want to learn about your life. We want to know about your missions, your friends, your dreams. We want to be the parents you deserved. Just then, my assistant knocked on the door again. Admiral Hayes, Commander Mitchell, is here. He says it's urgent. Commander Mitchell walked in, took one look at my parents, and stopped. I'm sorry, Admiral. I didn't realize you had visitors. It's okay, Commander. My parents were just leaving. My mother grabbed my hand. Sophia, please think about what we said. We love you, and we want to make this right. After they left, Commander Mitchell sat down across from my desk. How are you holding up, Admiral? I'm fine, I said, but we both knew it wasn't true. I have some news that might cheer you up, he said with a small smile. The President wants to meet with you personally next week. He's heard about your service record and wants to discuss a new position. I looked at him in surprise. What kind of position? The kind that would make you the youngest female admiral in Navy history to be promoted to Vice Admiral. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Really? Really? And Sophia, he said, using my first name for the first time ever, Your family may not have recognized your worth, but your country does. You've earned every bit of respect and honor that's coming your way." As Commander Mitchell left my office, I sat back in my chair and looked at the newspaper clippings my parents had brought. The headlines were about me, but they felt like they were about a stranger. For so long, I had been the invisible daughter, the forgotten sister, the one who didn't matter. But now, sitting in my office with my medals on the wall and my uniform pressed and perfect, I realized something important. I didn't need my family's approval to know my worth. I had always been a hero. I had always mattered. They just hadn't been looking. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. When I answered, a familiar voice came through the speaker. "Admiral Hayes, this is the White House. The President would like to schedule a meeting with you." I smiled and picked up my pen. "I'll be there." Outside my window, the American flag was flying high in the wind. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. My family had spent years making me feel small, but they couldn't make me small anymore. I was Admiral Sophia Hayes, and I was finally ready to take my place in the world. The girl who had been forgotten was forgotten no more.